favorable matchup, but by no means a lock for blue-black control. When blue-black control falls behind on the board, they don't have a lot of good ways to catch up. Crux of Fate definitely helps, but Perilous Fault is dodgy against Abzan because they can remove it unless you're willing to pay 9 mana and try to do it all in one turn. And post-board, these Abzan mid-range decks can convert into a card advantage strategy where they just have Read the Bones, Abzan Charm, good answers to Planeswalkers, good answers to whatever you're bringing to the board, plus a bunch of Thoughtseizes. It's not a bad recipe.
A couple Siege Rhinos, too.
Yeah, and a couple Siege Rhinos.
As we just saw there, Read the Bones took 2 of them. Of course, your Crewfix looking to build up a incremental advantage as we go. Take a draw step here. Just to swamp very quickly. And passing the turn back over to Eslami. Urborg on top of the deck. Time to attack. In for 2 comes the Courser. There's the Urborg going to come into play. Windswept Teeth on top of the deck. Wiznitzer down to 16 here, so tied game at this point, but it's not really about life totals that much in this matchup.
Well, from the blue-black side, it does matter, but when they win the game, it's usually by having an extremely commanding position. They can afford to take some hits here and there, try to establish their card drawers and sweepers and planeswalkers and all that kind of stuff.
Siege Rhino going to make it in. A little drain, a little gain. 19 to 13 now in favor of Eslami. Aryeh going to draw a card here in just a moment. See if he has one of those 4 copies of Crux of Fate. 4 is a lot of that card.
I would imagine with Downfall and Dissolve in hand, if he's just passing through the turn here, that he's going to untap in Crux of Fate.
It looks like we're going to see a Downfall in the Rhino, so I was thinking the same thing, but we're going to go back Aryeh's way. Land comes into play very quickly. And just pass the turn back over to Eslami. Windswept Teeth will be the draw. Take a look at the top card and Hostilities.
It's possible he saw the Slumgore game 1.
Sure.
And he doesn't really have any outs to it besides that. I still wouldn't bring in Hostilities, but he does have a Windswept Teeth that shuffled away, so not the end of the world.
Can I get the 8-man judge to the stage?
Temple going to come in.
Also works.
Yep. Pat's going to the bottom real fast. Take a look at the top card. Hey, a Siege Rhino.
Pretty big upgrade.
Yeah, not bad.
Okay.
You're putting it modestly.
Yeah, I'll get rid of the Wrath here and instead take the 4/5.
Kevin Hubbard, please come to the stage. Kevin
How about another
Hubbard,
Rhino?
please come to the stage.
Will this one resolve? Wiznitzer does have a copy of Dig Through Time in hand.
He's trying to just absorb as much of these shots as he can to time his instance perfectly to get him to the point where he can dig through time.
Well, he went down to 8 so he can cast a dig. So Del 2. Pace 6. Look at 7.
But this is the degree to which he's on the back foot now is something that blue-black control typically tries to avoid because he's got to catch up now probably with either 2 spells a turn or with Crux of Fate, which will tap him very low, and then the follow-up Siege Rhinos and whatever Curtis is rolled up in his hand here can come flooding out. You want to be dealing with things on your terms, not theirs, and right now that's not happening.
In terms of popularity for these 2 decks this weekend, 13 copies of Abzan midrange into day 2. 7 copies of blue-black control into day 2 among our 95 players who have returned to battle on Sunday. All those cards go down. Take a draw. Well, somebody's got a Crux of Fate. Looks like going to lead up with a Thoughtseize too. There's the grip. Heroes Downfalls ×2. An Utter End, a Courser, and a Windswept Teeth.
Just got to remove the threat card here. It's not great, but unless this Utter End is really tripping up something, because he's going to 6 here, he's going to fall to 3 from the Siege Rhino trigger. And he can't really afford any other hits.
Well, there goes the Courser. And we'll see that Crux of Fate here in just a moment. You have to imagine. There that is. Creatures are going to go away. Siege Rhino is the draw. It'll be coming into play momentarily. There we go. Eslami's going to go to 26. Wiznitzer's going to go
Legacy
down
Premier
to
IQ
3.
players, your pairings for round 4 are now posted. Again, this is for the Legacy Premier IQ.
There's a windswept teeth,
Round
passing of
4
the
has
turn.
been posted on pairings.
Wiznitzer will draw a card. It's a
And
temple.
The paper pairings post on yellow paper.
I think
Please find your match.
Aryeh is now set up with Dissolve plus Downfall. So he can answer this Rhino, answer a follow-up play.
It's a good spot to be in. There's a downfall right away. Pass that turn back. Eslami going to sacrifice his windswept teeth, get a land out of his deck.
And this is another spot where I don't think the mathematics of thinning are very good, because you do get a random land out of your deck, but you also put the end hostilities on the bottom back in. And your windswept teeth in play has some value as a way to shuffle your deck in the event that a future courser reveals something you don't like. You've removed one random bad draw, but you've added a random bad draw as well.
Yeah. Take a draw step. Obson Charm. Not bad. Pass that turn back. Wiznitzer will draw. We'll see an Obson Charm and a turn here from Curtis. He's got interest in 2 new cards, and he's going to get them. Don't get a great look at him. Nissa and Johnny are pretty good.
Those count.
What's the draw step now? Windswept teeth. How do we lead out is the question.
Probably Ajani. Ajani's good enough to counter, but Nissa is the real prize.
And he will lead out with a Johnny. And Dissolve says absolutely not. So it's time for Wiznitzer to scry. Top card. Going to become, looks like the bottom card. Though, Aryeh is going to give it some thought.
Welcome to round number 4 of
And we'll stay on top now.
You have 15 minutes.
Kick it back.
Begin.
Wiznitzer will draw. Radiant Fountain, it looks like, will come into play. Gain a little bit of life. Pass that turn back. Curtis will untap. Looks like he's going to sacrifice his windswept teeth first, get another land out of his deck. Going to go with a forest.
And now having already thinned out, I suppose I'm okay with thinning out the second time.
For today's 1 p.m. standard challenge. If you're intending on playing this and you haven't signed up yet, come see me over at the side event registration station.
All right. All that is said and done. Now we go back Eslami's way. He'll take a draw step. It's a copy of Llanowar Ways. Is he willing to pull the trigger on the Nissa? If it gets in, life is pretty good. Here's the attempt. And Dissolve says no yet again. Wiznitzer will scry. Top card stays on top. Llanowar Waste will come into play. Pass that turn back. Wiznitzer's draw step. Quickly passes the turn. Curtis wants to nominate cards in the graveyard. The answer is 6. So dig through time will be on the cheap. Obson Charm the draw.
I like casting the Charm now. It looks like Curtis is going to pass here, but he has enough mana left over where he could Charm into something that matters.
Yep.
And cast it all in one turn.
There's Charm. So he'll draw 2 cards. And he did find a card that matters there in Elspeth. So I'm with you. Even though it is an instant, not all instants have to be played as instants.
Right.
Wiznitzer taking a look at the top 7. He'll take 2 of those cards with him here in just a moment. All right. Jace's ingenuity among the cards found with the dig. Temple was the draw step, kept it on top, quickly passing back.
Hey, Aryeh just needs to find more card drawing. He knows right now that he can't push through a Planeswalker. There's too many downfalls and other ends left over in Curtis's hand. So just going to play the card advantage game for a while. Set up a hand that can power through the defense that Curtis has.
See if it's charm time or Elspeth time. Looks like it's going to be charm time. Draw 2 more, down to 18. Looks like that was just a couple of lands this time, though. Not a great odds on charm. Looking to chain those into more card drawing spells and more relevant spells. There's a Temple. Take a look at the top card. That card's going to stay on top. Curtis happy to pass the turn back. Feels like it's probably Thoughtseize if he's not casting Elspeth.
Exactly. I think he wants to try to push it through.
Wow.
Well, now Elspeth is worth very little.
Yes, it is. Salumgar. Welcome to the party. Not an SCG first, but it feels like it.
Showed up a few times.
What it does make Elspeth a pretty bad Magic card, which is not easy to do given that it's Elspeth.
The plus power doesn't work, and neither does the minus power.
Yeah. But it's time to deploy. Maybe Curtis hoping to get a counterspell out of this. That's not going to work, though.
Well, he has picked up Obzon Charm, so he can allow the trigger to occur and then try to pump up his tokens.
Sure. There's a forest. And it's time to pass the turn. Wiznitzer will draw. Put a blue to Delta into play right at the top of his deck. Attack Elspeth. Kill the tokens. Here's Obzon Charm in a turn. 2 more cards perhaps, yes. Now it's time to draw. And Hostility is among the cards drawn there.
Well, this is a spot where it's fine.
Yep.
Doesn't have a lot in his deck that can kill this dragon, so.
This will be a dig through time in response. It's a weird card to have to counter here for Wiznitzer, but he might have to.
Well, if this resolves, suddenly the Elspeth starts mattering again.
Yep.
So a counterspell is almost worth 2 cards here, the Hostilities, / your dragon, and the Elspeth.
Looks like Prolocation was picked up here for Wiznitzer. Now there's the disdainful stroke. So Aryeh wants to keep this dragon. It's got Elspeth on lock. It's probably got this game on lock, really.
And you can see the issue here with having too many reactive cards against blue-black control. Eventually, their hand just gets to a point where they can counter all the stuff that you're trying to do. You need to be proactive as much as possible against them. And Curtis's configuration here post-board seems like it has a lot of reactive cards.
Yeah, with these 2 heroes downfalls and Utter End in hand, and him basically ending the game with those cards, it's like a mulligan 3 times.
Exactly. And I think the right recipe here is, you want Thoughtseizes, Obzone Charms, Read the Bones, and Threats. You want very little in the way of things that interact with their permanents.
Jason Ingenuity happened there on the end step as well. Soldier tokens down, Elspeth down. The Drifty D destroying Curtis.
Yeah.
Read the Bones to draw. And eventually it might get to the point where Wiznitzer starts countering these cards.
Sure. Although he also might be saying there's just not a lot that matters in Curtis's deck, and I want to save my counters for Siege Rhino, maybe Planeswalkers, maybe another End Hostilities.
Temple, top card. Now it's the bottom card. More bones to be read. So Scry 2. Curtis dealt so much damage to himself that Salumgar is actually going to be able to probably close out the game pretty quick.
Yep. I mean, there's Obzone Charms, there's Read the Bones. Curtis right now looking at a Thoughtseize I'm sure he'd like to cast. But it does add up. Oddly enough, even against blue-black control, sometimes it adds up.
chases and ingenuity. 3 cards coming.
And you can see Aryeh not even bothering to try to get Pearl Lake into play because he knows there's a million heroes down balls and such to slog through. So
Yeah, why even bother? Here's Thoughtseize. 3 heroes downfalls. Another end, and he's going to take a Read the Bones. Surprised to not see Read the Bones be cast last turn. Though Wiznitzer is down to 2.
yeah, he would have to have a lot of counterspells in his hand to warrant casting the Thoughtseize there because most likely Curtis's hand is nonsense and it does get him into Siege Rhino range.
How about a Liliana? How about a Dig Through Time? Take a look at the top 7.
Judge Alex Toon to the stage, please.
They'll go to the bottom. It's like Ugin among the cards found. Here's Disdainful Stroke. But Siege Rhino is still a concern here. There's a land past the turn back.
Yeah, again, we don't have a great, a total grasp on how many counterspells are left in Aryeh's hand, but
There's a Delta. Here's an attack. Eslami's going to go down to 6.
he always also has the option of using Pearl Lake Ancient just to pick up Radiant Fountain and put himself to 4 in the event that he runs out of counterspells.
Temple. Left that card on top real quick, or at least just thinking about it. I'm going to show you an Ugin. I'll attack you for 3 and then Ugin you for 3. Is that okay? I think he says, I'm going to make you do it. There's Ugin. Hoot you for 3. There you go. Headed to game number 3 is where we're going here. As Wiznitzer is able to tie things up against Eslami. Blue-black control and Abzan mid-range. They've got about 12 minutes to get it done.
So if we're assuming that X3-1 is the record we're looking at here for top 8, and we're not sure about that, but we're guessing that, a draw for Curtis here is just fine because it effectively puts him in the same record as being X3. So he's still in contention. Aryeh's side, a draw is about as good as a loss here as he would need to win out from this spot. The second draw would doom him if you win X3.
Yes.
So Curtis can probably accept a draw. Aryeh cannot.
Yes. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to finish here, but we'll see what happens. We'll take a look at the sideboards here as well. I'll start on Curtis' side. He's got a Bile Blight, 2 Glare of Heresies, 2 Read the Bones, Murder's Cut, an Utter End, a Tasker of the Golden Fang, and a Race, 3 Drowned in Sorrows, a Garrick Apex Predator, and a Johnny Mentor of Heroes, and a Nissa. When we saw Johnny, we saw Nissa. You have to imagine Taskers in the deck, and those Read the Bones are there too.
Exactly, and you get the feeling based on how much removal is there, he might have brought in the extra copy of Utter End as well.
Yeah, he does have 1 in his main deck, and plenty of cards to sideboard out here, too. He's got 3 Bile Blights that are certainly in the board. Some of our Heroes' Downfalls are left in his deck, though he might change that. The Murder's Cut is certainly in the board, and he's left in at least 1 of the 2 end hostilities.
Yes.
So,
On the other side, on Aryeh's side, we got 3 copies of Jaraba Murklurker, 3 Negates, 4 Thoughtseizes, 4 Drown in Sorrow, and a Pearl Lake Agent. Pearl Lake seems fine here, though it might get cut given the sheer density of removal still left in Curtis's deck. I know that Pearl Lake is fine against removal, but, you know, still maybe doesn't want to slog through it at all. The 4 copies of Thoughtseize, the 3 copies of Negate seem good to me.
this is a Thoughtseize. We've got 2 Dissolves, a Hero's Downfall. Let's make 2 of those as well. A Crux of Fate and a couple of lands here in Wiznitzer's hand. So we'll see what Eslami wants to select. The time is updated for you guys, so actually, we thought it was 12 minutes. They've got about 7.
Yep. And I'm just a big fan of stripping out Dissolves out of this hand. It's the hardest thing for the Abzan mid-range deck to fight through.
Dig through time, the draw step. There's the Swamp, kick it back. Temple, Scry. Stay on top, kick it over. Wiznitzer will draw. There's a land, Pluto Delta. Pass the turn, dissolve in, Hero's Downfall at the ready. Sandstep Citadel. Is there a spell to play? There is not. Wiznitzer will draw. Puts Radiant Fountain in play off the top of his deck. He's up to 23. Pass that turn back. No Abzan Charm going to be cast here by Eslami just yet. Urborg. Pass that turn. Wiznitzer will draw. It's a Thoughtseize. He'll cast it. He'll show it. Surprised that Curtis has not cast an Abzan Charm yet.
Yeah, seemed like a fine spot.
Especially when he has 3 in his hand. Also, a copy of Siege Rhino, too.
It's possible that the Siege Runner was drawn and he's trying to set up a Obs on Charm, maybe bait out your counter, untap, and resolve a Siege Rhino?
Potentially. But, you know, when you have an opponent who has 2 copies of Hero's Downfall in hand, really, where's that going to get you?
Yeah. No, I would have cast the Obs on Charm the previous turn.
Well, Obs on Charm is resolved now.
Players, time is up. Active player, please finish your turn.
There's a Caves.
Then both players take a total of 5 additional turns.
Now here's a Read the Bones. So it looks like that's going to resolve. Scry 2. No Courser of Crewfix in play, so we don't get to see him. Top card goes to the bottom. 1 stays on top. 2 cards coming here for Eslami. One of them is an Obs on Charm. He's drawn plenty of those. Has an Hostilities. Also has a Johnny in hand. Pass the turn back over to Wiznitzer. Wiznitzer has missed a land drop. There's Obs on Charm again. 2 more cards coming here for Eslami.
I would believe that Aryeh would like to dissolve here just to scry. But he can't really fight over the card drawers. He's let too many of them resolve at this point that you sort of have to give up that fight.
Yep. If you can't counter them all, it's pretty unlikely that you should counter any of them.
Right.
The circumstances do change, obviously, depending on where you're at in the game. Here's Thoughtseize. Perilous Vault, Crux of Fate, 2 Heroes Downfalls to dissolve, Pearlication, Dig Through Time.
I think I'm taking Dig out of this hand.
Thinking the same thing. You can play around the rest.
Exactly. With the amount of 2-for-1s that Curtis has generated, just cut off the card drawers.
Looks like he's going to go with the win condition and Pearlication.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last call for
I mean, Aryeh may actually be net happy with Pearl Lake in the graveyard right now instead of being in his hand to facilitate the delve on Dig Through Time.
right now.
Another copy of Read the Bones. Eslami's going to go down to 7 here. I just think that when you have Thoughtseize, you're using that card as basically a proactive counterspell. So if you're casting that, you're clearing a path for something. By taking a card here with the Thoughtseize, taking the Pearlication, and not taking Dig Through Time, the Polluted Delta gives him the 4th card in the graveyard, plus the 4 mana play allows him to actually cast a Dig.
Yeah, this is perfect. Like I said, I think Aryeh actually would have just put Pearl Lake into the graveyard if he could have.
Yeah.
So the Thoughtseize doing this for him is excellent. I think that you just take Dig Through Time there.
I think it's, yeah, I'm in agreement. I think it's the only card that you really care about. The rest of the cards you can certainly play around. You know, then you're just working with really good information outside of draw steps of, okay, he's got 2 downfalls, he's got a vault, he's got a crux, he has a dissolve. I know all of this stuff, I can move forward accordingly. And Dig Through Time means who knows what he has now, outside of the other cards that you already knew about. Now there's a temple. Top card going to stay on top. You have to imagine it's a land.
And now he has access to his land drops. He's picked up a Disdainful Strokes. He's going to be able to fight over multiple spells on Curtis' turn if that's what Curtis is trying to play towards.
Here's 4 mana. There's a Siege Rhino. That's going to resolve, but we know the Wiznitzer does have a copy of Hero's Downfall in hand, so it's 4 mana to deal 3 damage at this point. There's a temple. Take a look at the top card. Top card's going to stay on top. There's Hero's Downfall. See, when you have an opponent choked on mana in the way that Wiznitzer is/was, is their Slumguard that he can actually play off of Urborg, I think you just want to get yourself where you're just playing 2 spells a turn.
Exactly.
Because then they can't keep up with you and everything that you're doing.
And now the problem is that this is Curtis's window to add a lot of stuff to the table, but he knows about Crux of Fate.
Yep. So he's got to end hostilities and trade away here. And now he can deploy a Courser as well. So this is a 2-spell turn. This is a good thing.
Yeah, the end hostilities makes this turn pretty nice for Curtis.
Again, the goal is to really just make 2 actions per turn against blue-black as often as you can anyway to overload their mana, but especially when they're mana screwed. I draw Hero's Downfall. Temple of Malady on top of the deck. Temple going to come into play. Trigger gain a little bit of life. A little scry action here. Top card goes to the bottom. Take a look at a Caves of Koilos. Kurt's going to take a look at the cards that have been exiled. Looks like he's going to go for a Johnny here. Disdainful Stroke will take care of that. There's the attack for 2. Wiznitzer going to go down to 15. A lot of reactive cards in hand, though. 2 copies of Hero's Downfall. There's a Tassiger. Just gonna wait. Yeah. Aryeh should wait, let him delve first, and then play the dissolve. And even I wouldn't even dissolve. Yeah, I would just cast Hero's Downfall. You can do a lot better with dissolve here.
Yeah, Aryeh just trying to keep his head above water, eventually answer the Corsair crew fix and make sure that the shields on dissolve are never down.
Yeah. Dismal backwater comes into play. Looks like it is turn 1 of extra turns here. So in for 2. Don't know if either player's going to be able to finish this one in time. I would be surprised, let's say that, even though there is an Ugin on top of the deck. And that's a very powerful card, but I would be surprised. Wiznitzer takes a draw. Pass a turn. There's an Abzan Charm. Ugin and Thoughtseize. Top card Corsair. That'll be the draw step for the turn. Now there's a Windswept Teeth. He's finally got his engine up and running. Just took a little long to get online.
Yep.
Here comes the Corsair.
So I guess Curse's best play is try to add enough to the board here to potentially get a kill on turn 5. Don't think it's possible.
I find it rather unlikely. Here's Ugin. That's going to get countered. A little surprised not to see him lead out with Thoughtseize first. Just going to pass the turn back. Turn 4 of extra turns. Radiant Fountain going to come into play. This could be a Perilous Vault that he's been holding on to for some time. Window's pretty open to cast this.
Sure.
That'll come down on turn 4 of extra turns. And Eslami will have turn 5 of extra turns. There will be no conclusion to this game, so we will have a draw here for these players, and they've already got 3 between them, so certainly something to maybe be mindful of in the future. They're going to have to pick up the pace of play.
Yeah, for Curtis, this is okay, although now it means draw number, I suppose he's, if X3 and 1 is good to go in this tournament, which we're not sure of, it'll probably come down to tiebreakers. The draw here is okay. He still is live with another draw. But yes, time is definitely an issue here.
And neither of these decks are terribly quick. You kind of know that going in also when you're playing them. You know, Abzan mid-range does have a lot of interactions with Corsair of Crewfix, and when you are playing long games against blue-white control, blue-black control, or Sultai control, they can take a while, so you really got to get moving.
Yeah.
And Abzan mid-range mirrors, too. Those aren't the shortest one either. So you see a Thoughtseize take care of a Dissolve here, a Rhino on top of the deck. The cards left here from Wiznitzer. He has a Crux of Fate and a Jace's Ingenuity, Perilous Vault in play. It looks like Corsair may come into the red zone as these players finish up the last turn of this particular game. But a draw will be the outcome. You'll see the shoulder shrug. You'll probably see an extension of the hand as well. And we will come back to the booth here and put a close on round number 3.